Hi, I'm Ruger, the creator and director of Mexisoul Retreats, and I'm here with Jamie Metz, who does integration. And we're created this video just for you to help you and support you on your journey for returning home. So we're going to cover a few of the things we mentioned during the retreat, just to act as another way to support when you're back home.
Okay. And the video is really meant for like your first week home. Just remember some things. You might be a little bit shocked or startled when you leave the cocoon of La Finca and come back into the other world. I know that when I leave La Finca, I always have to have a little bit of adjustment period. So one of the things we want to start with, and we've worked a lot on it at the retreat, was to remind you that you have access to your breath. The breath will calm your nervous system. It'll bring you down to present. It'll help you relax. So you can choose your own count. You can count into a count of 4, out a count of 4, in a count of 4, out a count of 4. Sometimes I will just go to my bedroom and just lay on my bed and just count for maybe 10 minutes and breathe. And then I can just feel everything just relaxing, and I can be more present and more able to think and process what's going on. So remember, you always have access to your breath.
And then another thing that we cover a lot during the retreats is your thoughts. So just remember whatever you're experiencing as far as what you're thinking, even if it is things that might be uncomfortable or wondering if this has made any difference. Just remember that those aren't necessarily you. Those are a narrative that you've kind of created, but just be mindful of them. Just be mindful of the fact that this is a thought and there's a bit of a separation between that. And that is something too, you can be more mindful of that thought through the breath work or through other types of activities, meditation, exercising, journaling, being in nature, a lot of the things that we do mention during the retreat.
Yeah. I'd like to just add on that. We talk a little bit about your narrative, and a lot of us have this narrative we've had since, well, we started when we were like 2 or 3 years old, and we just keep grooming it and changing it. But you really absolutely are not your narrative, and you really absolutely are not your thoughts. And the key to evolving and transformation is to build that muscle of awareness of that your thoughts are here, and there's this wiser, more brilliant being that really who you are, that can watch your thoughts, and then it can make choices based off of if it likes those thoughts or doesn't like those thoughts. So remember, you're not your thoughts, but it's not easy to really grasp that. It'll take a little while.
Some way that I kind of viewed too this concept of the higher self is just on a basic level, it's all of the lower self is kind of these just in general negative, not useful emotions, and then the
Mhm.
higher self is just these positive, vibrant, supportive, supportive kind of higher emotions.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. So,
Okay, and then let's kind of talk about just
okay.
things to expect in the first week.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think the big one that we should just talk about is that there are potential flashbacks of the medicine. Um, that's something that happens, and the way I view it though is welcoming it. But that's where people can kind of get a lot of insight and information, and it's not something to be really afraid of or to be scared of. Um, I mean, sometimes it can disrupt sleep, but the way I view that is if you're accepting of it coming and you maybe even keep a journal next to your bed while you're sleeping, that's the way that I've dealt with those. Is it's something that when it comes, and just be grateful for it, and then maybe write down what's happening and what's occurring and how it made you feel, and usually you can get some insights, and also they'll pass relatively soon.
Yeah. I, I deal with it a little different than Ruger. I love the flashbacks, and usually it happens in my sleep. But what I try to do is I try to just stay in that space as long as I can. I try to just create the spaciousness where I'm aware of my thoughts, I let them go. I'm aware of my thoughts, I let them go. And it feels like I'm training my brain to be in those higher vibration areas that Ruger's talking about. So for me, the flashbacks are very useful, and I know they're not going to last very long. And so I just tried to be really grateful for them while they last.
And then is there anything else you want to discuss just on the first week of going home? I know something that we cover there is just that kind of take care of yourself. You might be feeling really, really tired. You might be craving different food. Um, you might be, some people are very motivated. Some people have no motivation. I think the overall message is just to take care of yourself.
One, Ruger and I are both in a class, and a speaker called Rachel Harris wrote a book, and she was a speaker in one of the classes, and she calls that week going home, or even longer than that, the spa period. And so think of this as it's a time you're taking care of yourself. It's a time where you need to rest. It's a time where you're maybe taking baths, you're journaling, you're taking naps, and you may feel really funky, like it's maybe like, your body's been rearranged, and it has been in a lot of ways. And so now you're giving your chance for your body to come back and get settled again, come to a new homeostasis. So think of that week when you come back, that's your spa period. Rest, take lots of naps, take exercise, but slow, easy walks. Don't do too much. Your body needs a chance to adjust, and it will go away. And if you do come home and you're really motivated and cleaning closets and getting a lot done, then that tired period will still come. It's just going to come later. And so it does come, don't be like, oh no, it's all over, all the work, I'm back to, being tired. No, you eventually will have, you don't have it the first week, you're going to have a tired week or two. And that's important. Your body's doing important work during that time period. So just take really good care of it.
I really like that. And I think it's important to remember too that whatever you're feeling in that moment or that period is only something that is temporary.
Mhm. One thing I know after doing as much medicine as I have done is that my first week or two coming home, nothing. I don't have downloads. It's just, I have to just rest, take care of myself. And then about the second, third, fourth week is when really the brilliant things happen. But I have to go through a rest period, and then to get to the things that I'm eventually going to have that are really, really useful to me.
Why don't we talk about that a little bit then of just noticing the changes and noticing the differences for going home? I'll say that on my perspective, there's some things I notice immediately, and there's some things that I haven't noticed for weeks and weeks afterwards. But one of the examples I've given of when I very first did medicine and then came back is I was a poker dealer, and I had quite a bit of anxiety of just in the job itself of making a mistake or having judgments from other people. And so something that actually helped me was returning to work a few days later and just noticing the difference. Like it was not something that went away, but it was something where just that dial was turned down. And I think just being aware and noticing the changes and, in some ways returning back to your normal lives, you'll just start to gain these little pieces and these little insights that will be, I mean, that's one of the best things for me, is the most positive things for me.
I noticed it too. I would have fears or things that would cause me a little anxiety, or maybe resentment or judgment. I'm not really all those things probably. And then it's not that I notice that it's that I notice that they're not there. I didn't even know they were there, but now I notice they're not there, and it feels pretty darn good. So overall, if we talk about like fears we have in life, over my period of doing medicine over the last couple of years, if they were here, they're like almost down to almost none. It's quite amazing. So, it definitely dials back things that we worry about.
I think I'll add to that too, for people that might feel like there's not much of a change. It is natural for your brain to want to go back to old patterns, whether they're
Mhm.
healthy patterns or not healthy patterns. But that's something where it's just that is again kind of going back to your thoughts. That's just something in your mind of wanting to go back to something that is comfortable. But I've had massive changes in my own life, but sometimes I haven't realized they might have changed because I do have my brain wants to go back to the old pattern of thinking, but it's just okay, you're on a new new direction now.
Yeah, sometimes in medicine, you'll hear people say maybe at a retreat while you're doing medicine that your brain is changing, like we're breaking up neurons, creating new pathways. But the reality is that you do that once you get home in how you use your brain. You're aware of things, and now you've got to train your brain to build those new neural pathways. And when you see things clear, you're like, oh, that's not a problem now, and then you have to remember that's not a problem now. So you really have the responsibility during the integration process to rebuild your neural network. And and that's really why you do medicine, so you can.
Well, how about just in general resources for this first week? I know you've talked about some of them during the integration meetings, but one of the big ones for me is meditation and exercise. I don't know if there's anything that you want to cover specifically. Baths.
Baths.
Maybe
Epsom
I
salt
should.
baths. Yeah, it just helps even me out. Like I'll take a couple baths a day for the first week. It just till my skin just can't take it anymore. But it helps a lot. I crave the water. So
Something, another, a few of the other ones that I've done is I usually sleep a little bit excessively, try to have some downtime. And I think it's important to know whether if you're the type of person that gains energy from being around people, then be around people. And if you're the person that recharges their batteries when you're alone, then probably have some alone time.
I need alone time. I know that. How about you, Ruger?
Yes, I'm also the person that needs alone time.
It's funny. We're both very involved in running these retreats, and we're with you guys for a whole week, and the whole week we're together. But both Ruger and I go home and go into our cave, and we need our downtime afterwards to get recharged. So okay,
Well,
go ahead.
well, I just think actually you go ahead.
Okay. I was going to another topic, which is relationships. And
Okay.
sometimes people have a little fear about their relationships, how they might change, that they might end up, you know, um, damaging relationships, maybe. And that really isn't what we see. We see, yes, you are changing, and the people around you are going to love you, and you're going to love them, and you're going to love them more. But just know it'll be okay. Like, just know we talk about this at the retreat more extensively, but just know that overall, really close, intimate relationships get better. There is some adjustment period, but it's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I think the main point of that is that the relationships you have already that are very solid, a lot of those will grow and become better relationships.
Yeah, mine with my children, my grandchildren, my husband, my close friends, my sisters, are all better than they were before. I'm definitely, there are some changes on the outlines of relationships, but really this work is about love, and you felt love at the retreat, and you'll be able to transfer that love to people you love. It's a beautiful.
All right. Well, and I think the overall thing that is important to just realize is that it's going to be okay. Like
Mhm.
this process can be somewhat difficult. There's parts that are going to be uncomfortable. Um, there's parts that are new. Sometimes new is uncomfortable. Sometimes new can be frightening, but overall, it's going to be okay, and it's going to end up being resulting in just a better, more advanced, more awareness, more consciousness, more love, and I think that's the main message. And then if there's one thing to take away from this video, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't even add anything to that. It's going to be okay. It's going to be great. Just kind of weather the bumps, because there's going to be a few bumps, but in the end, I follow up with people for months afterwards sometimes, and I've never heard somebody say, oh my gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done it. I've heard people when they come home say it's a little rough, but in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, it'll be great. So
All right. Well, I think the last thing I'd add to that is just there is the group, so use the group as a resource, and we're here to support you on your journey.
And also, if you really have a hard time, you have access to me. So remember that also. Well, just, this is for Mexisoul people. So Mexisoul people do have access to me. So make sure that you use that too.
And for anyone that's watching this video that hasn't been to a retreat, if you're interested, please contact me. I'm happy to have a phone call with you and answer any questions or concerns you might have.